In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your thermostat and housing on your Chevy Cruze. It's located under the hood on the driver's side on the side of the engine. We're going to remove these bolts on this side with a 7mm socket. We're missing a few bolts, so just do your best. Follow this line and just remove everything that's there. Once that's all done, you're going to remove all these bolts on this side, or push pins. Ours are all missing and held up with the zip tie, but you are going to need to remove this whole shield. Now we're going to loosen our drain plug here. It's on the side, if you go on the passenger side through the bumper, next to the radiator. You're just going to turn it to the left, and it will drain. Have a drip pan below to catch the coolant. Now we're going to close down our drain plug by just tightening until it stops. Clean up the area. In order to do this job, it's a lot easier to remove this air tube. So to do that, we're going to put a flathead screwdriver in here and take this ring out and pry it off. We're going to remove this spring clip, use a flathead screwdriver, and pull the clip out. Now we're going to pop this off using a pry bar. It should just pick up like that. Once that's off, we're going to disconnect some things over there to pull this out of the way. We're going to remove this hose clamp and hose off of our reservoir. Just use some pliers to squeeze the hose clamp. And we're going to disconnect this from here. Just move it aside. Now we're going to go below and undo the other side of this tube. Now we're going to take this spring clamp off. You're just going to push it up. You can grab it from the other end and pull up. Once you get your clamp out, you're going to push off this tube. You may have to remove the clamp altogether if it's not cooperating. Ours is a little gooey. Looks like we have some sort of a leak. But you really just want to free that up. Now we're going to take this bracket. We're going to take this bolt out of this bracket using a 10mm socket. Now we can move this over. You're going to have to reach down. So now we can move this wherever we need to, either back or forward to get to everything. I'm going to use my cable hose clamp tool, and that will make life easier. I do recommend using one for this job since it's pretty tight in there. So you're going to squeeze that, move it. You can try using pliers if you don't have one of these. I'm just going to walk this clamp up. You might need a screwdriver to do that. I'm going to release this, get it out of the way. We're going to twist this hose to release it off of its spout. and then remove the hose. I'm going to use my adjustable pliers for that. And you're just going to twist to free it up. And use the pry bar to push it off. Once you crack it free, you can pull it off. Make sure you have a drip pan below. Now let's remove this other hose on the top. I'm going to use my needle nose for that. I'm going to bring that hose clamp up, release it, and now we're going to pull this off. Now you're going to remove your hose from here. Ours is broken, but typically you would just push that off. You may need to loosen this clamp as well to be able to slide it, but ours is broken, as you can see, so we're not going to do that. We'll get that out later. Now we're going to disconnect our connector. To do that, you're going to use a small flathead screwdriver and unlock that gray tab. Push down, unplug. Our connector won't come off, so we're going to undo the sensor from the actual thermostat housing and disconnect it after. Sometimes when things get too hot, they don't cooperate. So you can do that too if you're also having an issue. So you're just going to pull out this spring clip underneath. And pull it out. The new housing does come with a clip and sensor. Now we can reach this and disconnect it easier. I'm just going to have to stick a pickup in here and push it out. There we go. So that's what you can do if yours is stuck as well. Now we're going to move on to this other hose over here, and I'm going to use my same tool to squeeze that hose clamp. Slide it down. Make sure you slide it up and away as far as you can so you can get your pliers in there if needed. Take the hose off and release it. Now I'm going to remove this hose. Use my adjustable pliers to get in there and twist it. Make sure you have a drain bucket below. Catch any coolant. All right, so now we're going to take our hose off. You can pull on the other end. And I'm just going to pull mine out of the way. I'm just going to pull my hose out of the way. And now I'm going to move on to my other hose. I have to remove this other hose as well since we have a piece of the thermostat housing stuck in it. You don't have to do this. Now we're going to remove this other hose clamp with our tool. It is easier when you have the vehicle in neutral, so your shifter is not in the way, which is this. And when you have that in neutral, it gives you more space to move. So I recommend that. Once you get this clamp down, you'll be able to get the hose off. I'm going to use some vice grips to get this hose clamp off. This one's a real tough one to get to. Alright, so now you're going to wiggle this thing down further so you can undo the hose. Move that out of your way, and now we're going to crack free this hose while we're down there. Just grab it by your pliers and twist, just like you did the other ones. Once you see it moving, you can pry it off. If you can't pry it off, you can also leave it there, and when you remove the thermostat housing, it will come off, but I'm going to try to get it off this way. Okay, now we're going to get this clamp off. Okay, so once you have that clamped, you're going to pull that up and off the thermostat housing. And push the hose off. I'm using a pry bar to do that. And remove that hose and set it aside. I'm using a swivel 10mm and an extension to get to this bottom bolt. I'm going to do this one first. You just want to loosen that bolt. Let it be free, and now we're going to go to that top one. I'm using the same setup. Now we're at the top bolt, same setup. Loosen that. Make sure it's free. And now we're going to break it free off the engine. Make sure you have a drip pan below and pull it away. I do have this hose still attached over here, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a twist and remove it off the hose. Now we're going to remove our gasket like that. The new one comes with the gasket as well as new bolts. We're going to clean our surface and install. Just make sure that surface is nice and clean and it's not contaminated with any dirt, so you get a great seal. When we install this, we're going to make sure that our hose, the one that is left on the car that was hard to get off, we're going to make sure that that one goes on first. If you were able to get it off, then you should be all set, and you can do whatever order you'd like, as long as you start from the bottom and work your way up. So I'm going to put my hose in there first. You can add water to the inside of the hose or coolant to lubricate it and make it easier to Slide those hoses on. I'm going to get one of my bolts started. Get your first bolt started. I wouldn't tighten it down all the way. Just get it started. And now you're going to get your lower one started. Now we're going to get this bolt started. You may have to push down on it and line it up correctly. You might have to walk it back and forth as far as tightening the bolts back and forth to make sure that it lays flush where it belongs. All right, now we're going to switch to our 1/4-inch ratchet just so we can feel it when it gets a little tighter. And I'm going to tighten these down. Now that I have both bolts started, I'm going to put this hose back on. Our other end of our thermostat housing was stuck in there, it broke off. So I want to make sure I get this on before I tighten this down any further. And now I'm going to continue to tighten my bolts down. All right, we're going to finish tightening these down. And then the torque spec is 89 inch-pounds. If you can get a torque wrench in there, if you can't, just do your best. 89 inch-pounds is not much, I'd say about wrist tight. I'm going to use my ratchet wrench down here because it's really hard to get to. And that feels good. Now I'm going to put my hose clamps back. So you're going to want to do it the same way you took them off. Once you get it lined up, you can release it. Let's put our hose on. I'm just going to get it started, and now I'm going to get the pliers on there and push the hose on. Next, I'm going to put this hose on and do the same with the clamp. Once you get that hose on, you're going to slide this hose clamp down as well. Now let's plug in our connector. The gray tab goes up. Slide it on. Make sure you hear that click and lock it in place. So now we're going to do this last hose. I'm gonna remove the bungee cord that was holding my turbo back. And slide that on. And get that hose on, the hose clamp on. Just make sure that's all the way on. Now we're going to put our throttle air tube back. Slide it over, push it down, and then lock it in with this clamp. And slide it into place. Make sure it's right where it belongs in that slot in the hose. It should lock into place. Make sure that the L shape is pointing up and slide it into the slot. You're going to know you're in there because it fits really nice. And then you're just going to let it snap into place by pushing it in. I lost one of my plastic pieces, so I'm going to have to do this again. If that happens to you, pull it back out. Put that plastic piece back on and slide it into place. There we go. Let's do a last final check and make sure that's secured. Put this tube back in its bracket. You can slide your coolant reservoir hose back on. Release that hose clamp. And now we're going to start our bolt down here. Make sure that your air tube is connected at the bottom first though. Once you know the bottom part of the air hose is lined up, you can put your bolt in. Tighten that down. Just make sure that's tight. About wrist tight's good. And now we're going to attach our air hose that's lined up already. Let's put our air tube back. Get our spring clip ready. Just slide that on. Make sure it's totally lined up. And I'm going to slide this into place. This will lock it in place, just make sure. Now we're going to put our engine splash shield on. Make sure, just to make a note, make sure that you check your petcock and it's closed. And now we're going to slide this on. Make sure you have the splash shield facing the right way. These hooks should go inside these rectangles and clip in. And this slides in here. Let's start putting our bolts in. Just put all your bolts back where you found them, around the edge, and there should be some here. A lot of ours are missing, and we had some zip ties holding some things up. So just do the best you can. Put everything back where you found it. Now we're going to fill our coolant. You're going to keep filling this up till it's about halfway up the funnel. You're going to start the vehicle, let it warm up, and when it gets hot, the thermostat will open and it'll get into the engine, and then you're going to top off the coolant. Keep filling up the coolant till you're about here. When you see this hose right here, right about that line, and you're going to let the coolant work its way down. You're going to start the vehicle, warm it up, put the heat on. And usually the system will bleed itself. Once you have heat, you're going to know that the air is gone. And you're going to top off your coolant, remove your funnel, put the cap back on, take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.